Hi, welcome to ThinkTech Asia, coming to you from Pioneer Plaza at downtown Honolulu. I'm your host, Hong Jiang. I'm an associate professor of geography at UH Manoa. And this seems to be a very good time to talk about Chinese dance, especially now we have the world-renowned Shen Yun Performing Arts coming to Honolulu in 2 weeks. We actually did a show on that a few weeks ago, and that is a Chinese dance with a live orchestra music. And people in Hawaii might be curious about what is the Chinese dance offerings in Hawaii. If you're interested, who you can contact, and we have the expert in town today, Ivy Xu, who will talk about Chinese dance. Welcome, Ivy.
Hi, Hong.
For being here.
Thank you for having me.
So Ivy is a English teacher at Kalakaua Middle School, and she is the artistic director and head instructor for the Phoenix Dance Chamber, a school here in Honolulu that specializes in Chinese folk dance, ethnic minority dance, and classical Chinese dance. So we get a lot of dance today.
We'll talk all about dance today.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And we'll talk at the level that not a non-expert could understand, because I'm not an expert on Chinese dance. So I'm going to ask you questions that you're going to see as just like just novice, no idea, no expert knowledge. So we're at the same level, I suppose, with most audience here. Let's start with talking about the Phoenix Dance Chamber. That's where you are instructing, teaching people to learn to do that Chinese dance.
Yes, I've been the artistic director for the Phoenix Dance Chamber for about 2 or 3 years now. And I've been with the Phoenix Dance Chamber since I was about 12 years old, I'd say. It was established in 1989 here in Hawaii by Diane Litoto and Leon Litoto, who are both studying dance at the University of Hawaii. And they, Leon is actually ethnically Chinese, but Diane herself isn't ethnically Chinese. She just fell in love with Chinese dance the moment she became exposed to it and began to learn more and more about it. And then in 1989, when for the Chinese bicentennial, they brought in Professor Liu Yolan from the Beijing Dance Academy to the University of Hawaii to teach Chinese dance. They bonded immediately, and Professor Liu Yolan saw in Diane someone who is truly passionate about Chinese dance, and Diane began to research more, and Liu Laoshi taught her more and more, and they created a relationship where they would go to China, or Liu Laoshi would come here to Hawaii to teach, and Phoenix Dance Chamber kind of became established in that way with just a very small group of passionate people.
It's just so great to have the Phoenix Dance Chamber here in the community, because then people can actually go to the dance chamber to learn about it and to go on performance. So what kind of programs do you offer there?
We have classes that range from the keiki levels, ages 4 to about 12. Would be the keiki classes, and we go all the way up to adults. Right now we have an advanced class that includes dancers age 16 to 30.
To 30?
Which is my age.
Wow.
I just said that on camera.
Oh, but you look great.
It's because I dance. Yeah.
So for adults, how can they learn dance? I mean, you look at the dancing techniques and requirements, look like impossible for adults to learn.
We are open to having an adult beginner class, actually, which we've had in the past. Currently, we do not have enrollment for the adult beginner class, but we welcome anyone, and if we get enough people for any particular group, then we are open to starting a class for them again. But it's really more about learning the culture, learning about the movements and the techniques. You don't have to perfect them, but if you want to learn about it, then we are welcoming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dances, the different kind of dances. And do you have classes for all different kinds of dances, like a classical dance, different ethnic dance, and folk dance?
We might sometimes focus a month or two on a specific type of dance. And just like recently, we actually had a fabulous dancer who's originally from Xinjiang province in China, and he had his Central Asian Dance Week at University of Hawaii, and he taught us the Uyghur minority dance. So for the entire month that he was here, we learned Uyghur dance and we focused on Uyghur dance. But usually we do a variety within each level, within each class level. We might do some classical basics, we might do some Han Chinese folk dance basics, and depending on whatever new dance we're learning, we'll focus on those basics.
Let's talk about these different dances a little bit so that you know, the audience members can be educated. For example, when they see a classical Chinese dance, how can they recognize that's classical Chinese dance?
Within classical Chinese dance, there are also different genres, but you can tell the women dancing are very what you would consider feminine.
Okay.
They're inspired by the images painted on the Silk Road, on the caves that are known as Dunhuang, with long flowing clothing, which inspired the dances with the long sleeves, 水袖 or water sleeves.
That's right.
Yeah, and also the ribbons that you see that were also adapted to be used in ballet. And you would also see the martial dances are also considered classical dance. So the use of weapons or the martial movements combined with classical Chinese dance movements and ballet.
So from the form, you can kind of tell, from the costumes, you can tell, from the form of the movements, you can tell.
You would be able to tell from the form of the movements. For instance, the feet, the traveling feet, you would not see a lot of large paced running. It's always
they do like this,
a rolling step where you take teeny tiny steps very, very quickly to look like you're floating across the floor, right? And the hands, one of the typical hand positions is the lotus hand or Lanhua Shou, where you put your middle finger and your thumb together, and men would be like that.
Okay.
And that's something that you would recognize in classical Chinese.
What about the different kind of flips and jumps and twists and turns?
One of the characteristic turns of classical Chinese dance that you don't see in Western dance, because a lot of classical Chinese dance is inspired by ballet, but the one that is actually inspired by Chinese opera is the fan shen, which is not sure how to describe it in English, but you would actually have to bend at your waist and turn while maintaining that position.
Oh, I see. That's right. I've seen those dances. It's incredibly difficult to imagine.
Right. It's very difficult to learn. I myself am not actually very great at it, but skilled dancers will be able to do it in place, do it traveling, and there's different varieties.
What about those flips, almost like martial arts like?
That would be a martial arts movement, also mainly inspired by martial arts. Not so much from the Western ballet.
Well, I know for one thing that the classical Chinese dances are just wonderful to watch, and you marvel and say, how can they move their bodies like that? So is there a way that you would contrast and look at the difference between classical Chinese dance and the Western ballet?
I would say that particularly for classical Chinese dance, there might be more restraint in the posture, slightly more forward leaning. Whereas ballet, you'd be more open. That would be one of the differences. Also, for classical Chinese dance, the hand gestures would be softer.
It's kind of very subtle, right?
Right, it is very subtle, and there's a lot of focus also on expression.
That's
on the eyes, and it's a very subtle type of expression. Like when you smile, you don't usually smile like very hugely. It's very subtle.
Interesting. The ethnic dance, which is very different from classical Chinese dance. What are the different kind of ethnic dance you do at the chamber?
We model our curriculum primarily after the Beijing Dance Academy because of our mentor Liu Yolan. But right now, even at Beijing Dance Academy, they are expanding to include more of the different ethnic minorities that are in China. 56 politically recognized ethnic minorities. But the main ones would be Tibetan, which is usually taught first because there's a focus on rhythm in that particular type of dance. Also Mongolian, Dai, Yi, and Hmong.
Did
I miss one? Uyghur.
The Uyghur one.
Uyghur, which we just had.
That's right. Can you tell us just a little bit more so that our audience can understand more of the different kind of ethnic dance and how, I guess it's probably hard to describe how different are they. Maybe with the constraints of the studio, maybe you can show us some of the movements.
Sure. I guess I can.
Probably you can just
in my
here.
seat
In your
demonstrate
seat.
some of the differences. Sure. So I'll start with Uyghur since we just had the Central Asian Dance Week here, and the Uyghur dance is more about upper body movement. Than focusing on lower body, which a lot of Western dance focuses on, and it's very flirtatious, you would describe it as. But if you consider Uyghur culture being Muslim, it's really the way that they are able to flirt with, men and women are able to flirt with each other through dance, because normally you wouldn't have as much interaction between men and women. So you have a lot of head movements in Uyghur dance, a lot of shoulders, Uyghur dance, and it's very cute and flirtatious.
That's interesting.
And there's a lot of focus on hands for the women, especially beautiful hand movements. And I am not a Uyghur dance expert in particular, so if you really see a Uyghur woman dance, it's all about her expression and her head and her shoulders and her hands.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
It's really beautiful.
The other dance that's use a lot of the shoulder movement is a Mongolian dance, right?
Yes, Mongolian dance also uses a lot of shoulder movements, very good. But the whole stance and feeling and flavor of Mongolian dance is completely different from Uyghur dance, because they live on the Mongolian steppes and their lifestyle is nomadic, shepherds, horseback riding, and the dance is adapted to give you that feeling of looking out into the distance, into or over the grasslands, where you look out for miles and miles and you don't see any buildings, you don't see any mountains, it's just grass forever.
What about the Tibetan dance? That the Tibetans live on the high plateau.
Right, so they do live on the high plateaus, but so because of that, there's more of a relaxed feeling to their movements, whereas for Mongolian, you would have open shoulder and head back all the time. For Tibetan, it would be more relaxed. Because if you exerted yourself too much, you would faint because of the high altitude. So it is more relaxed. You feel kind of the steps are heavier feeling.
The other dances that you mentioned are the Dai and the Hmong dance, and they're all from southern China. I wonder whether the location and the culture would have any particular influence on those dances.
Definitely. Dai and Hmong reside primarily in Yunnan province, which is bordering Thailand and the other Southeast Asian countries like Laos and Cambodia. But they are Buddhists. They are a Buddhist culture, and you will see a lot of the hand gestures demonstrating like the three angles that you might see in a Buddhist sculpture as well, or in those sculptures. Like the angle of your hand are always bent at 3 points.
Interesting.
Yeah, for Dai dance. And what else about Dai dance? The culture being very similar to Thai. So you'll see the costuming looks like, if you've seen a lot of Thai clothing, it's very similar to that.
And they're very, very colorful.
Very colorful, inspired by the beautiful rainforest that they would be around them. We have dances that portray the different kind of festivals that they have, such as the water festival. And it's very free at the same time, very modest as well because of the Buddhist culture.
That's interesting. Yeah. We do have some beautiful photos to show the dance from the Phoenix Chamber, Dance Chamber, and the control room. Can we start to show some of those photos? You can just start to roll them one by one, and then Ivy can explain. So what is going on here?
So this is a lovely picture from National Dance Week Hawaii last year. I believe it was taken by Travis Okimoto, so thanks to Travis. This is a Wa ethnicity dance, which is also an ethnicity that resides in Yunnan province in southern China. And you can see that the clothing is somewhat resembling the Dai minority clothing.
With the stripes.
With the skirts, the wrap skirts, and the top. Of course, it's a warmer climate, so it's a tank top. And the Wa ethnicity is known for this very kind of primal hair-tossing dance that they do. So the movements, if you're able to see this dance, is kind of wild. And it's just girls tossing their hair.
And next photo, please.
This is a Han ethnicity, and Han is actually the majority of Chinese who have come to Hawaii is Han, and the majority of Chinese residing in China are Han. But this is a Dongbei Yanga, Yanga being a harvest dance and kind of community folk dance, celebrating the harvest using handkerchiefs, which is used a lot in Dongbei, China.
Okay. And next one, please.
Next one would be a classical Marshal style dance. This is our male dancer, Devin Izumigawa. He's actually studying dance at UH right now. And he's doing a sword dance. So you'll see a lot of the weapons used in classical Chinese dance.
Next one, please.
That's me.
Oh, beautiful.
This is a Peacock Dance, which is very popular in China. It's a lot of people in China, when you say Chinese dance, will think Peacock Dance, particularly one dancer, Yang Liping, who is very famous. But it's of the Dai ethnicity, or inspired by the Dai ethnicity. And in Yunnan province, or the area of Yunnan province where the Dai people live, there are beautiful peacocks, and it's a sacred animal. And something interesting about the dance is that it's actually supposed to be originally a male dance.
Interesting.
Because it is a male peacock that they are portraying.
That's right. They are the one that's beautiful, colorful. That's right. Yeah.
So it was, I guess, probably adapted in China when they saw it done by the Dai people. They saw it look so beautiful, and the movements are so feminine that women began to do it.
Interesting. So, next photo, please.
This is Hmong dance, this choreography by Liu Yolan, and it's, if you can't tell in the picture, but we're sitting on stools. Well, I'm not in the picture, but they're sitting on stools, and it's portraying women gathering around and weaving hemp thread together. So it's a community kind of folk dance that portrays like everyday life and everyday practices. Yeah.
And next one?
This is also a Hmong dance. This, you can see the beautiful headpieces and the neck piece there. It actually is kind of like dowry for a woman. So it's a dance that shows off their embroidered costumes and their jewelry, hopefully to attract a husband for the young Hmong women.
Well, wonderful.
Yeah.
So we are right at the time to take the first break. You've seen those beautiful dances, and I'm your host, Hong Jiang, and this is ThinkTech Asia. We've been talking about Chinese dance in Hawaii. When we come back, we'll have more.
I'm Jay Fidel. That's Sharon Moriwaki of the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum. And every Wednesday we have Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy. We've been doing it for some time now, and we have some fantastic guests on there, unbelievable guests who give us insight into what is going on in a very complex, sometimes very confusing, sometimes very disappointing area of progress in the state. So we love doing this. We love meeting them. We love talking to them. We love having their ideas out on the table. So maybe, just maybe, we can all make some sense of what's going on. Sharon, what do you think?
I think that's absolutely correct. We enjoy ourselves meeting with all these people and hearing about the energy and the state of clean energy, and hopefully we advance clean energy for the state. So it's terrific. Join us.
Okay, it's every Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is Energy Day. Every Wednesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, here on ThinkTech Hawaii. We'll see you there. I'm Jay Fine.
Hi, we're back. We're live, coming to you from downtown Honolulu. This is ThinkTech Asia, and we've been talking with Miss Ivy Xu about Chinese dance in Hawaii. And Ivy is the artistic director for the Phoenix Dance Chamber. And right before the break, you've seen those beautiful dance photos. I want to ask you, Ivy, where did you get all the costumes?
Well, when we first started, when I was younger, dancing with Phoenix Dance Chamber, we made them all ourselves. They were made by our parents, and we didn't have access to costumes from anywhere. It was very difficult to access Chinese dance costumes in Hawaii at the time. But we eventually, when Phoenix Dance Chamber expanded and made more connections, we made a connection in China, so we were able to order our costumes actually from China and sometimes bring them back from our cultural exchange tours that we would go on to Beijing and to the other places in China.
Before the show, you were talking about some of the ethnic kind of either costumes or accessories you had to adapt them to the stage.
Like in China, a lot of the professional dance groups that do ethnic minority dance, they don't actually use the clothing that, say, a Hmong woman would wear while doing the dance in her village. But you have to adapt it to stage because many of the dances themselves are adapted, and it's very tiring to do a full concert in heavy silver jewelry and headpieces. So a lot of the costumes do need to be adapted for stage. Yeah.
One thing I want to ask you about is the dance training. Let's say students come in and learn the Chinese dance. What are the kind of training procedures or steps?
We base our curriculum on like I mentioned before, on the Beijing Dance Academy curriculum. So at a young age, they learn certain things like where to focus your eyes, pointing, very basic things like that, pointing the feet, aligning the body, and it's similar to ballet training in a lot of ways, in that classical Chinese dance is similar to ballet. Okay. So they usually every class they would start out just with those kinds of basics, and they would begin to stretch from the. As soon as they join us, they would begin to stretch and work on their flexibility. And we would, aside from flexibility and posture and positions and things like that, you also work on the standard turns, standard traveling movements, such as the rolling step of classical dance. But then because there's so many varieties of styles of dance, ethnic minority, Han folk dance, we would focus on the basics depending on what was the next choreography would be learning. So it's really kind of diverse, the types of training that we need. They need to adapt to so many different flavors and styles being a Chinese dancer, because it's when people ask me what is Chinese dance, it's really not just one thing.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so diverse that our dancers are very versatile, actually.
Given the kind of training that you describe, it seems to me for people who want to train for example, posture, you know, this would be one way to train them to be more aware of their movements and their bodies. Do you have more girls than boys?
We do have many more girls than boys. We actually only have one boy right now.
Oh, my.
Out of our enrollment is at about 20 students.
Oh, we need more boys.
We really do. We really do. In the past, we've had up to, I believe, 5 boys or men. In the very beginning, there were definitely more. But it is difficult to get men and boys to be interested in dance, just in general, I think.
Well,
today.
you know, if boys can see the Chinese dance, and from what I see, especially I've seen in the last few years a Shen Yun show every year, I mean, the male dancing was just so energetic.
It's
so
very
boys
athletic.
can be really, really inspired. Hey, this is great, fun.
It's very athletic. Our well, he is single too, but our one male dancer.
You have one male dancer. That's the photo you showed,
yes,
right? Yeah,
but he's
looks great.
So athletic, and he can do everything.
Yeah,
and it's great. And you really have to train at that. For Marshal style dancing, it's really similar to like break dancing and the types of flips that they do and stuff.
Yeah.
So any kind of dance training that you have would help you to learn Chinese dance.
What about training and personality or character development? My understanding is that you know, dance is part of culture, and you talk about a lot of what you do is also to promote the culture, and it's related to a cultural way of life. And how do you incorporate that in the dance training?
We incorporate almost every movement that you would do, particularly in ethnic minority dances, I feel. Every movement kind of has a little cultural story behind it. So when they're learning the new movements, they kind of learn why.
Okay,
Why am I standing like this?
That's right,
for a Mongolian dance? Why is my hand this way? Or whatnot. And just for our dancers in particular, you don't have to be Chinese to join our group. We've had non-Chinese dancers before, and it's just having a respect for the culture is very important, and being committed to our school in the same way that many hula halal expect the kind of discipline and commitment from their dancers.
You talk about the Chinese dancing being more restrained, not just everything full-blown expression. How is that related to personality training as well?
There's a lot of personality training, I guess, also acting, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we're not trying to change anyone's personality, but just being able to portray a certain emotion or feeling on stage is something that's harder. It's harder to learn that than it is to learn how to do the splits. Right? It's harder to learn how to portray certain emotions when you're actually feeling a certain way inside, to portray something else.
So in a way, the Chinese dance is both skill and performance.
Yes,
Meaning like acting, performance, that you have to be able to express these subtle emotions, right?
Right. And when I was talking about Chinese dance, classical dance showing restraint, I was talking about classical dance, but if you refer to the ethnic minority dances
That's
or some of the others,
different,
that
right.
would be, that might be a little different.
That's right, yeah, you're right. The Chinese classical dance is more
Right.
following the kind of classical
Right.
values.
It is based on performances for court, so it wouldn't be as free or as open as, say, modern Western contemporary dance.
That's right. It's a very, very different feel
Right.
of the dance. Yeah. That's interesting. In terms of yourself, I wanted to ask this question of dance and life and how those all connected. How does dancing contribute to your life?
As you mentioned, me being an English teacher at Kalakaua Middle School is also a job that I love. If any of my students happen to watch this, I love that job too. But it is kind of a day job, and I feel like being artistic director and teaching dance is more of a release for me.
Okay.
I do feel that when I'm teaching dance, it's easier for me to focus on teaching dance than it is for me to focus on teaching other things. Something about the kinesthetic aspect or the movement, and that really takes your mind off of other things because you have to engage your whole body. So dance is really, I think, could be a great part of anyone's life in that way.
So you said you started dancing at age 12, right?
Should be age 12, yeah.
Age
12 or 13, something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you encouraged by your parents to do so, or you just were interested?
Well, my parents kind of just put me in it. I didn't even know what's going on, really, at the time. My cousins were in it, the same group.
Was this part of your parents wanting to give you more of a Chinese cultural experience?
I think that it was partly that. It was also because I wasn't really a kid who was into sports so much, and they wanted me to do something active. I had learned hula in the past, but I hadn't really done any other types of dance. But because it was recommended from our other family members, I think that was the main reason that they had me join. But
have you continued on all these years?
Well, as soon as I joined, I loved it, and I continued until I graduated from high school. And then I went away to college and traveled and worked abroad a little bit. And then when I returned, I was asked by my teacher, who is still here teaching in the same school, that would be Diane Litoto, the original founder of Phoenix Dance Chamber. She asked me to be in a concert, which was called The Legacy of the Phoenix in 2009, I believe. And it was kind of like she asked a lot of alumni to return, and I got back into dancing, and it felt really good to continue going to classes. And after the concert, I continued, and sooner or later I began teaching. Somehow got pulled into doing that, teaching an adult beginner class and then teaching more classes, and now I'm artistic director.
Wonderful, wonderful. And thank you for being one, because again, it's just great to have the Phoenix Dance Chamber in our community, so people have the opportunity to be trained, to learn about Chinese dance in Hawaii. So we're going to take another break. This is Hong Jiang at ThinkTech Asia, and we've been talking about Chinese dance in Hawaii. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, my name is Dr. Rafi. Every week, I'm right here at ThinkTech Hawaii, 3 p.m. on Mondays. My show is Boris' Bio Briefings. What do we do here? Well, we watch sperm swim, we see if they catch anybody, we check out the latest biosimilars, you know, the kind that, what was his name, the guy with the bicycle? I guess we forgot his name, but he was taking EPO and other human growth factors. We'll be talking about human growth factors. You want to know where to get some? Maybe I'll tell. Anyway, you can catch me, as I said, every week right here, Monday, 3 p.m., ThinkTech Hawaii, Dr. Rafi. You can also find me on Twitter, BioInfoMedical. Or you can catch me on Facebook, Dr. Rafael Boritzer. I'll be happy to converse with you. Aloha.
And this is
Hi, we're back. We're live, coming to you from downtown Honolulu. This is ThinkTech Asia, and I'm your host, Hong Jiang, and this is a program that's about Chinese dance. We have Ivy Xu, the artistic director at the Phoenix Dance Chamber. We've been talking about Chinese dance in Hawaii. So right before the break, we were talking about basically the dance and culture, and learn about your personal stories of how you got into Chinese dance. We're going to talk more, learn more about the Phoenix Dance Chamber. What kind of programs, what kind of dance performance do you do now on a regular basis?
Well, we're fortunate to have a performance booked for us almost every month, and particularly during the Chinese New Year season, we have more performances. And they're just within the community. Anyone can call us if they want us to perform for any kind of event, really. We perform for a certain rate, but usually depending on the group, if it's a nonprofit group, we often do pro bono performances as well. But community events, private events, yeah, for example, we'll do the Chinatown Cultural Plaza Chinese New Year performance outdoors on the Moongate stage every year. Sometimes we'll do the Honolulu Academy of Art. And recently, we just did one at UH at the Earl Ernst Lab Theater as well.
The last one you did was a Uyghur Dance Week. That was just last week, right?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about, where we trained for a month, all Uyghur.
Yeah.
And the name of the instructor was Akram Helio, and he's from Xinjiang province originally. He is ethnically Uyghur, and he's also doing research here at UH currently.
I see. Okay.
And has done a lot of research in the past, and had his own Uyghur dance group in Beijing before coming here.
How was the response of that week-long event?
We had a great response from everyone who attended the workshops and everyone who went to the culminating performance at the end of the week. It was a small performance in the lab theater, about 120 seats, but it was filled. So, and everyone gave us a tremendously positive response. I think it's just something so different that they've never really seen performed in Hawaii before.
Yeah, and also we just don't get a lot of opportunities to watch and appreciate a Uyghur dance in Hawaii. That's really great. Any of your dance students became professional dancers later on in their life?
We don't have any that did, actually. For most of it, it's difficult because our dancers are in school, and we train twice a week for the older girls. Older girls and boys, we train twice a week, and it's harder to go into a professional path. But we do have currently 2 dance majors at UH who would like to pursue professional dance. So it also depends. A lot of them just join us for the cultural aspect. We do have a few who are adopted, born in China, and sometimes the reason they join is because the parents wanted them to get in touch with their Chinese culture.
I see.
And all kinds of reasons. So it's not always because they want to pursue professional dancing that they join us. But they do get a fairly professional presentation from us when we perform.
That's right, yeah. Well, you know, locally, especially as professional as you can get in terms of watching the performance you have.
In terms of Chinese dance, probably we are as professional as you can get in Hawaii.
Definitely.
Right?
I've seen your performances, especially when you talk about the Chinese New Year events, and you were great. your whole team,
Thank you.
which is wonderful, so beautiful. What about, have you traveled outside of Hawaii to perform?
We actually have traveled, well, we travel often, almost every year, to inter-island, to Maui, to Hawaii sometimes, to perform for various events. And we also do cultural exchange tours to China. We've done workshops in Hong Kong. We've entered in the North American Chinese dance competition in Vancouver, which I think the last one we entered was a few years ago though. But we used to enter in that one every other year. And we're currently planning on doing an exchange in Taiwan.
Oh, that's wonderful.
For 2015.
So when you have the exchange, you would travel there, or dancers from Taiwan would travel here?
We welcome dancers also to travel here, and we do have an instructor who is planning to come this summer. But when I'm referring to our exchanges, it's us traveling to China or to Taiwan or to Hong Kong with the goal of learning dance.
How often do you take in visiting artist dancers like you did in the Uyghur Week?
The past couple of years, we've been fortunate to have a few of those types of instructors. We had, there was a Jingji or Beijing opera production at UH.
Right. Yeah.
So those instructors actually came to our classes as well and taught us the opera basics for to give us a stronger foundation in classical Chinese dance.
That's wonderful.
And the Taiwan Folk Dance Theater was also here last summer, and we did an exchange workshop with them as well, and they'll be coming back next year to teach us for a couple of weeks too.
Well, so your Phoenix Dance Chamber almost became the cultural ambassador in terms of dance connecting, with China, with Taiwan.
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, that's wonderful to see. Yeah. In terms of further connections in the local community, do you involve in any particular kind of educational setting, educational environment? You yourself is also teaching at a high school, right? And does the school have much of a dance program? Can schools use more of the dance programs?
I'm actually at Kalakaua Middle School.
Oh, it's a middle school.
And right now, unfortunately, the schools are cutting dance programs in the Department of Education, and there's less and less of that. But there are after-school programs. We have after-school all-stars, and I strongly encourage anyone who is interested, any of my students who are interested, to join dance and become involved in that kind of movement, because there's so much you can learn from it, just as far as discipline, expression, kind of just release.
That's right. Have fun, right?
Like, it's so important when you're stressed out about school to have that outlet. Yeah.
What's the kind of a future vision and plan of the Phoenix Dance Chamber?
We do hope to be able to continue as truly as possible to our mentor's vision of Chinese dance, which is to remain true to the culture of all of the people that we represent, which are Han Chinese, any of the ethnicities. Whenever we do their dances, we're representing them. And so we hope to continue in that way. And to do that, many dance groups now everywhere, because of YouTube and the internet, can turn to that to learn dances. But we do hope to continue to be able to travel and also bring instructors here to be able to learn from them, because you just can't learn in the same way from videos and from the internet.
Oh, I know, especially dance, movement. So you needed to be on site.
Right. So just the vision is just constant learning, constantly being able to continue the dialogue. And we know that culture changes as well.
Yeah.
So in China, Chinese dance is becoming more and more, you would say, westernized.
That's right.
As well. So we hope to kind of keep that in mind, but also stay true to like our roots, so to speak. Yeah.
How many instructors do you have right now?
We do have 3 instructors right now. There's myself. We have a keiki instructor who is assistant artistic director, Karen Chan, and Leon Litoto, who's also the original founder of Phoenix Dance Chamber, still teaches our one male dancer. Or male dancers.
Any plans to recruit more male dancers, boys coming in?
We do continue to try, and having connections through UH Dance Department does also help. But anyone who is interested in dance or Chinese culture is welcome to come and join us.
I guess our audience members, if you have boys, if you are interested in learning about Chinese dance, you know who to reach. How can people find you?
It's as easy as Googling us, Phoenix Dance Chamber. You can search for us online. We're on Facebook. We have a website, hfcca.org, which is actually the Hawaii Foundation for Chinese Culture and Arts. But it's probably easier just to Google Phoenix Dance Chamber, and we'll have our contact information out there.
Great. So again, we're just about to run out of time and have to wrap up. And we've been talking with Ivy Xu, the artistic director for the Phoenix Dance Chamber. We've been talking about Chinese dance in Hawaii. And if you have heard this about this, followed us in this show, you have learned a lot about what the Phoenix Dance Chamber can offer. But just check them out on the website, Phoenix Dance Chamber. You'll find them, and we hope to have more people learning Chinese dance, including boys, right? Thank you, Ivy, so much for joining us.
Thank you, Hong. It's been my pleasure.
And I want to thank our production manager, Ian Davidson, and communications director, Chrissy Golfigan, and our producer, Jay Fidel, and also you, the viewers, for joining us. Again, this is your host, Hong Jiang, and I am hosting on ThinkTech Asia on every Tuesdays, and we will be talking about topics like culture, dance included, other topics about the environment, about religion, about history, about current affairs in China, in Asia. So please join us. I'll see you next Tuesday. Thank you and goodbye.